Hey everybody, welcome back to James Jaws Everything. Sorry, I had something in my throat there. We're going back into West Africa today, and we're going to be doing the country of Gabon. All right, so this is a pretty easy flag. It's one of them tricolor flags, but it's actually not a Pan-African flag. So the colors on this one are a little bit different. So it is still, though, a tricolor flag, so it's pretty simple. So we'll just start on that, and I'll catch you guys up on the history of Gabon. All right, so it is a fairly unpopulated country, right? Like a lot of the land there in Gabon is basically uninhabitable, right? Like a lot of like very thick jungle, and let's get rid of these lines here. Yeah, just not friendly for a human settlement. It actually has the highest per capita population of gorillas in the world. No, and I don't mean like leftist Marxist gorillas. I mean like actual gorillas. Gorilla. So yeah, pretty cool place. Like if you're into like nature safaris, stuff like that. And as far as the history, it's actually today like kind of one of the more stable places in Africa, and it's big reason for that is they didn't do the anti-colonial thing as hard as a lot of their neighbors, right? And they also never went communist. Surprise, surprise, right? And so they're home to about 40 different ethnic groups, right? So it's kind of you hear that and you think like the place is kind of like a tinderbox, but mostly seems to work there, right? Everybody gets along all right. And the largest group is the Fang people, like literally, like Fang, like Dracula. That's how it's spelled and pronounced. They basically cover about the northern third of the entire country. Kind of expand their racial identity and group or whatever. That also kind of spans into Equatorial Guinea and Cameroon. So from about the early 14th century, various kingdoms kind of emerge in what's present-day Gabon and the surrounding areas, including the kingdoms of Loango and Orangu. So we're talking like early Bantu expansions here, like the Bantu-speaking tribes, just expanding right into Africa, just expanding as much as they possibly can, taking over the place. And so they're expanding, but somebody else is expanding around this time. We're talking about the 15th century here. So, here comes the Europeans, right? They're also expanding, just like them Bantu peoples. So the Portuguese, right? My favorite colonizers. They show up in the mid 15th century, and they actually give this place its name. Right, so James, what is a Gabon? All right, now I'm Italian, so I always thought Gabon was an insult. But no, Gabon in Portuguese means cloak. So I guess the cloak is like the shape of the river in this country. The Portuguese, they thought it was a cloak, so they said, hey, let's call this place Gabon. And then everyone else said, all right, good idea. So, what's in a name, right? A name is just a name, but, 500 years later, or whatever, this place is still called Gabon. So, right, you gotta be careful when you name something, right? Because once you name something, that sticks, right? You ever had a bad nickname in high school or something, and people still call you that to this day? Well, that's Gabon, right? That's what they were first called, so that's what stuck. So Yeah, again, what's in a name? What's a Gabon? A Gabon is a cloak. And the Portuguese, they set up a lot of trading networks there. The main exports are like ivory and wood. And then, like in the 18th century, trade kind of shifted its focus to enslaved peoples. Uh-oh. I always hear about that slave trade, right, in these African places. And yeah, I guess Gabon supplied a lot of the world, right? Not just the European powers, right? A lot of the entire world, the Arabic world, the Eastern world, the Western world, other African countries, right? That's why it was a slave trade and not, a slave auction or whatever. These people, a lot of them were already enslaved, before Europeans showed up. But it is what it is, right? We don't gloss over history here. James Draws Everything. We just draw flags, talk about stuff. It is what it is. And yeah, so it became kind of a hub for the slave trade. And then that kind of declines, right, in the late 1800s. So France kind of went through their own power to the people kind of revolutions. And Great Britain as well, they kind of went through an abolitionist phase because the French did. And they feared, what would happen if they had a French Revolution in Britain. So Marxism is also taking foot in the world, at this point in time, because industrialization is a fairly new thing to the world. So all these peoples, like, kind of having workers' revolts and power to the people stuff that grows a lot in the 19th century. So France actually takes over this colony, and they, take advantage of a lot of the natural resources there. But then a lot of anti-colonial rhetoric starts forming there by their Gabon's educated elites. Uh-oh. You know what that means, right? Educated elites. Where have I heard that before, right? Not the people that are growing the food there, but the educated elites. So I smell a little bit of that Jacobinism that the French tend to import into Africa. Kind of Marxist light, or diet Marxism, if you want to call it that. So the educated elite starts speaking up for the rest of the country, even though they never, worked a day in their life, and have very soft hands and wouldn't know how to farm if their life depended on it. They start speaking up for these people. And they say, you know what, we need the French out of here. And everybody else says, well, you know what, yeah, they kind of suck, these French, but, we do have electricity now and stuff. And then they're like, no, you know what? No, we need them out of here no matter what. And they're like, okay. So, again, the French, because of their kind of rogue government in World War II, they take the L a little bit worse than a lot of other countries. So that leads to independence for Gabon in 1960. So within a year, they went from a parliamentary system to a strictly authoritarian presidential system. Oh my God. This place is worse off right off the bat, right? So Leon Umba, he wins the first election in 1961, and then El Haj Omar Mogo Ondimba was the vice president, and then he assumed the presidency after Umba's death in 1967. And that guy, he only stayed in there for just a couple minutes. He was actually a pretty good guy. So he was only the president from 1967 to 2009, right? So not that long. James, I don't think Gabon likes you right now. Well, again, we, I tell it like it is. We got to get kicked out of another country. It's been a while, right? Kind of when I started this channel, I was very proud of my record of being kicked out of every country whose flag I've drawn, and yeah, we need to get back on track here. So, speaking of back on track, James, what the hell's going on in Gabon since 2009? Well, it was a single-party state, the Parti Démocratique Gabonais, the PDG, and then in the early 1990s, they introduced a multi-party system. So they redid their constitution due to critiques from the international community. And but even with those critiques, and even with that new constitution, this guy was reelected in 1995, 1998, 2002, and 2005 against a divided opposition that just couldn't form a coalition government to go up against this guy, and allegations of fraud. So yeah, 95, 98, 2002, and 2005, this guy won. Like, what is he, the Yankees? So Ali Bongo died in 2009. So that's kind of weird, right? He died. He died the same year he left office, or did he? Did he die and then it opened up power to somebody else? I don't know, but he was there for a minute, right? So new elections. So they had a new guy come into power, right? And yeah, this guy had no connections to the previous government, but he was the prior president's son. So there's that. And he was reelected in 2016, Ali Bongo Ondimba. All right. So and then he won a third term in 2003. So that was just a minute ago. Here we go. Then he was overthrown in a military coup a few days later. All right. So now we got a military government in Gabon, and they canceled the election results, dissolved the government, and then they put a new guy, Alagu, in transitional power. So he's like a interim president of Gabon. So, again, this was a pretty stable place, right? Because they had just one guy running the ship, right? So I can respect that a little bit because, me being an artist, right? Like, I am not a fan of collectivism, right? I like what goes in, into my head on the paper, right? Too many cooks in the kitchen. I don't like that stuff. Like, yeah, us artists are tough people to get along with. So, I understand, like, just kind of having to rule from the top down, right? You got an iron fist, you bring it down, and, this country is going to be your country, no matter what, international community critics say about it. So I get it. So, and that's why they were pretty stable. Again, never went communist, never went socialist. Had a very authoritarian government, but hey, you gotta keep the lights on, I guess. So, James, you kind of rambled on a bit today. Yeah, well, it's a simple flag. It's a Sunday, and what does the flag mean of Gabon? Right? Not a Pan-African flag, right? It's got a little bit different colors here. So instead of the red, we got the blue. So the green is the forests and the natural resources. The gold represents the equator, right? So this country actually does the equator kind of cuts right through it, so it's pretty hot there. And the blue that represents the sea. Yellow also represents the sun because equator and the sun. So, all right, everybody, that is Gabon, and let me know what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next video.